Do you believe schools should give primary emphasis to teaching basic skills such as reading, grammar, spelling, arithmetic, and history, rather than social or psychological matters, and why?
I would go with the basic fundamentals, especially in the early years, because without those basic fundamentals instilled in students, they have nothing to build upon as they progress through middle school and high school. And we also know that technology is a great tool. The problem is the basic fundamentals have to be instilled in those students before technology can really kick in. At the lower levels, it's more supplemental than it is any other factor. But once that is available, then technology has an opportunity to make just tremendous impact upon students. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly. Do you believe schools should give primary emphasis to teaching basic skills such as reading, grammar, spelling, arithmetic, and history, rather than social or psychological matters, and why?
Okay. Yes, I believe in basic skills. As a former high school English teacher, please get me some grammar in our classes. We need it very badly. I think all of our emails that we've read from other people really show that. As for basic skills, I think that we do need to go back to drill and skill and do some of those things. But we also need to understand that technology is a basic skill in today's society. So I don't agree with Mr. Good in that it's separate and we need to teach different things. I believe they need to be incorporated. And I think that the only social skills that I would really think that should be part of being educated, and that is manners. And manners matter. And I think those can be incorporated in character. Character counts. So I think those can be incorporated in our basic skills. We can always write about how it is to be a good citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, first to Karen. Do you support the right of parents to homeschool their children, and why?
I support the right of homeschooling for parents that have different needs. We all have, our children are of vast scope. For the school that I'm part of is a charter school, and we have medically challenged students that is their need, and they cannot make it to a public school. So I believe that should be a right. However, I would like to make sure that there is an education for them and that there's a set quality of standard of what they are learning. So yes, I believe that in some situations parents deserve that right and children deserve that right for medical conditions and other such things.
I definitely support all areas of education, whether it be homeschooling, charter school, parochial, private, whatever format it may take, because they all address unique needs of students, because all students are so totally different. Some thrive in a small one-on-one environment that some of the charter and private and homeschooling would provide. However, what I tell people, and I have stated this publicly over and over, I support any form of education. I encourage people, though, to look at public education and walk through the buildings and see what's going on. And they may just be surprised. More is happening than they remember from 20 years or 30 or 40 years ago, whatever it may be. And great strides are being made in our public education system, and I encourage you to think about how to get involved in it and be a resource for public education, if you so desire. Thank you.
Okay. Our next question is going to be a little different. We're going to give each of you 30 seconds to ask your opponent a question, and then they will have 1 minute to answer that question. So we will start with James.
Oh, me. That's a little bit different. Okay. What is the number one thing in public education you believe that we're not addressing?
I believe the number one thing in public education that we are not addressing is our technology and how to enforce it and make it part of our education and our curriculum. I think we need to make sure that it is part of an everyday social curriculum and not just PowerPoints, not just presentations.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to know what I attended the dual language meeting in CFB, and I know that that is a goal of this district, is to one day hopefully be a two-way dual program for the entire district. How are you guys preparing for the influx of special needs students that will be part of that program? Because as of right now, the board stated that it is neglectful not to have this program for every child.
Mhm. It's somewhat difficult all the time to address a dual-way bilingual program because the expectation is it has a higher level of rigor and demand upon students. And it's according to, when we talk about special needs students, we have to define what we really mean by special needs, because gifted and talented students at the highest academic level are considered special needs under certain categories. So there are certain categories of special needs students who would not fit in well in the model of learning a rigorous dual language program. There would be other students who probably would fit in very well. Though that's what we do all the time. We try to evaluate students and determine if they have the skill set to be able to be successful in those programs. And I think that's what we'll always have to continue to do, ensure that students have the skill set to make them successful in whatever program it is.
Okay, thank you both very much. Our next question is specifically for Mr. Goode. During the last election, when asked if you favored placing the budget online for public access, all the candidates stated that they were in favor of this policy. However, when it was brought up in a board meeting, you voted against this policy. Please explain these two decisions.
Oh, me. I have no earthly idea when I voted against it. I don't know whether it's been a year ago, 3 years ago, or whatever. And I don't know under what terms and conditions I may have voted against it. The school district has absolutely nothing to hide. It could be that it had to do something with the external, what the cost would be to make that information available to the district at large. It's hard to say. I don't know under what terms and conditions of which I may have voted against it. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Our next question will be first to Karen. A fairly long question. We're going to give 90 seconds to answer this one. Do you support a school board policy allowing parents the right to inspect and review instructional materials and methods? How can parents view the online material from their child's classes? And should the taxpayers without children in school also have access to this online material?
Okay, let me just make sure I have the question. Can I do that before okay. So, do parents have the right to inspect curriculum online and daily activities? Should we be able to view curriculum online? I'm assuming that means assignments also. And then should people that do not have students also be able to, so basically, can we make curriculum transparent?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Yes, I support it 100%. I do not believe when it comes to education that there is anything to hide. I feel that I, as a parent, want to know what my children are learning because I'm a lifelong learner and I can always learn. So A, I want to help my children. B, I want to know what they're doing. I want to see what's new, what's out there. And do I believe we should view it online? Yes. There is not one reason that we should not be able to know if they forget their piece of paper or they're out sick that we can't go and find that assignment online. There is no reason. It helps the students. It helps the teachers. I'd even say let's start turning stuff in online. Now, should everybody be allowed? Yes. Why would we hide in education? There are so many communities out there that already have, like TED, the virtual online, or TeacherTube, or all these things. Yes. We should not hide our curriculum.
I definitely agree with Ms. Webb, and I believe we are working toward that, where we definitely want the opportunity to have everything that goes online so that parents know exactly what is happening in that classroom, so that they can be a support for their students. And I know that the teachers I have discussed this with, they indicate they are ardently in support of this because, to be honest, it does relieve some of the burden from the teachers because then the parents have to take responsibility for their children and what they are doing within the classroom. And so I think this will continue, and I think it will grow. I think it will become the norm. Now, making it available to everyone, we can make certain things available, yes. For example, the curriculum, but not anything that directly relates to individual students that would identify them in any form or fashion, because those students have the right of privacy, and we honor and respect that, and they should only have that information made available to those who are their legal guardians. But I think it would be great for people who have been out of school for 10 years or 50 years to know what is going on in public education, and that's a great way. They can become volunteers, and when material comes up for selection and review, they can be on the review committees for the material that may be approved by the school district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next question is first to James. Where do you stand on school vouchers and school choice?
School vouchers, school choice. Parents should have the right to decide where their children should be educated. They are the ones who are paying the taxes to educate those children. And I have no problems competing with those school entities that want to pull those students away from public education. If you have a high quality educational system, you are thrilled to compete against anyone, because I think we can prove what we are doing is making highly successful students when they leave the school district, whether they be career bound or college bound. And if we continue to do that, I think we set a model that other school districts and other entities may try to follow. Thank you.
I would also support school vouchers, and the fact that I think that competition in school districts, when it comes to an education, I think it is important. I think we notice that it is important in a business world. Having a monopoly kind of sometimes can not be helpful, but I believe that when we do produce the best product and we do educate well and we do have the most caring teachers, then yes, we won't have to worry about that. But if for some reason we cannot support the needs of a specific student, then yes, I would want that student to get an education.
Thank you very much. Our next question, first to Karen. How would you go about balancing the budget?
How would I go about balancing the budget? Well, it's been a few years since I've seen actual line items on the budget, so I would definitely need to look at things carefully. But I think we need to look at some of what we're doing and some of the places that we continue to reinvent the wheel. I think we have an amazing district, and I think that there's a lot of great qualities, which is why I choose to send my children here. However, I think there are some areas in maybe continually changing the curriculum, continuing to change different aspects of the type of teaching models we choose. I think change is good, but I think that we need to give it a little bit of a grace period and a little bit of feeling out period. I think those would be helpful. And I think that we need to make sure that our classrooms are filled first, our administrative and the campus buildings are filled second, and then the rest of the leadership is filled from there. I think we need strong people at top and at the bottom, but our schools start from the classroom.
Before I'm ready to tear into a budget and dissect it, I want to know what the state and the federal government are going to do first, because we are at their mercy to decide what our budget's going to be. If you tell me the state is not going to provide any additional funding, then I can tell you how I would take the budget and make cuts in it to accommodate our requirements. For example, we have about this year or next year, we'll have about a $12 million deficit. Now, how do you make that up? Well, we have, of course, our fund balance we take that money out of. And the reason we have the fund balance is because we knew, based upon what was happening over the last 3 to 4 years, we knew that the time was coming where there was going to be a shortage of funds. So we built up the fund balance to cover this period of time. Now we're waiting to see what the state's going to do. Will the state provide more funding? If they do, our cuts whether it be with, within the budget, will have to be determined then.